Hey guys, Dominic here.
Connor here.
Well, we're all a little aflutter.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, we got the main lads,
The Grand Poobahs.
Yeah, coming in to talk about Shuttlepod One and Enterprise, Mr. Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. And this is a special for our watch party episodes about the shows themselves, but ostensibly Shuttlepod One, frankly, to my mind, one of the best things I've ever done on film.
Yeah, agreed.
And it was just an extraordinary script, and I'm really excited to hear, its derivation, its initiation, how they came about writing it, and
to hear these two fellas just talk about Enterprise.
Yes.
And maybe some other Star Trek, but mostly I want to hear them talk about Enterprise. I'm sure there's some questions we would like to have, from the horse's mouth, as it were.
They were together for 15 years. Rick ran the show for 18, and Brannon wrote with him for 15. There's a collective 25 years of Star Trek there, which is an unparalleled feat. And they cemented the foundation for a forever thing now.
Yeah.
And
without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah. No.
The show has begun. Set your phasers to fun. You're guaranteed for a trip. Slip into the decon with Connor and Dom. It's the Decon Chamber.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Trekkies and Trekkers, welcome back to the Decon Chamber. I'm your fellow co-host, Dominic Keating, joined as always by my fellow chamber pot, Mr. Connor Treniers in the house.
I see what you did there. Hey-o.
Today we've got a very special watch party episode for you all. We're going to be talking about Shuttlepod One. Frankly, one of the most unforgettable episodes of Enterprise, I think. For us, this episode means a lot. Ostensibly, it was a bottle episode. It was one of the rare times that Connor and I got to carry an entire story together, and it pushed us as actors, and it gave Malcolm and Trip a depth and a resonation with fans that we're still hearing about decades later. And in that respect, we are absolutely delighted and honoured to have the writers and producers, Mr. Rick Berman and Brannon Braga, today to look back on Shuttlepod One. Between them, they shaped the course of Star Trek for nearly 20 years, from The Next Generation through Voyager and into Enterprise. Their years on the legacy shows built the creative foundation of Star Trek, and for us, it's a chance to revisit not just this pivotal episode, but the people who helped shape the world that we are now so lucky and fortunate to be a part of. So thank you. Enjoy. Well, guys, thanks so much for being here. We're honoured and delighted to see you.
Thank you.
It brings back such fond memories. It really does. How long is it since you guys have been in the same room together?
We went to the Voyager screening.
Yeah.
You did?
Recently.
Yeah, I was there.
That was July. Was that July?
That was probably a few months back now.
A few months ago. Yeah.
It was a great evening, and it was nice to see so many assembled from the shows. I mean, ostensibly we're here to talk about Shuttlepod One and what a great episode that was. But let's talk a little bit about Enterprise in general, and the formulation of it. At what point did you know that you wanted to make this show, and what was the inception of it?
Well, like all the other shows, it was not us that wanted to make it. The studio came to us. We have the weird thing of not having to sell shows, that they just come to us and ask us. That happened at Deep Space Nine, it happened with Voyager, and it happened with Enterprise.
All right.
The studio wanted a show after basically it was going to be the end of Voyager,
right,
and there was going to be nothing. And we hadn't had nothing for
a long time.
A long time.
Were you ready for nothing, or were you waiting for the call?
I'm always ready for nothing.
You're ready.
But we were ready to develop something, and
right.
Enterprise was the whole process. The only person I wanted to work with at that point was this guy here, Mr. Braga.
All right.
And the only direction we wanted to go to was back to an earlier time to see the.
Was that a popular idea with the network at that time to go back and do this? I think the prequel was a great idea, but I have heard stories that they weren't so enamored with the prospect of not going further into space.
I remember the day you called me, Rick, and you pitched the idea for Enterprise, including the title, without the Star Trek moniker, because it was the only word that says Star Trek without saying Star Trek.
Yeah.
And the minute the ratings started to fall,
it came back,
the studio came and said, you got to put Star Trek back on.
Right.
I always thought that you took Star Trek out of the title because you didn't want to pay the royalties to Rod, perhaps. That was never the
that's
case.
Ridiculous.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it was a cool idea. I thought it was a very postmodern idea, going back to do a prequel. And prequels weren't a thing back then.
They weren't.
And because the idea of doing another show at that time, set in the same time period as Voyager, or going further in the future, whatever that means, the idea of doing a prequel was a very novel one.
Yeah.
And as I recall, I think it made the studio a little nervous initially, and it's one of the reasons we feathered in a sequel element, which was the temporal Cold War kind of.
That's sort of right.
So
yeah.
it's kind of it's a prequel with a little whiff of sequel, and but Rick, your original vision for the show was to do another Star Trek show with the type of storytelling that we were doing very successfully at the time. But we needed a fresh angle on it, and doing what we called kind of the right stuff, but with Star Trek, was a no-brainer in my mind. It just seemed like...
How did it all begin? Where did it all start?
So at what
led
point
up
in
to
Voyager's, ending of Voyager, did they say, right, time to think of another show, guys?
Oh, I think probably close to a year.
Okay. Because I remember coming in to audition for you guys for Voyager. I don't know if you remember that.
I didn't work on
I do. I not only do I remember it, but I remember coming to you afterward and saying, "You did a great job. You're not going to get the part."
Well, I never got...
Because we've got something in store for
That came later, after I'd gotten the job. You're misremembering a little bit. I have actually heard you tell a story that you told Julie Larry Johnson to say, tell him he's not getting this. We want him for this Malcolm part.
Right.
I never got that message.
Okay.
So a year and change went by.
A year and a half.
I was like, have you any idea what that year and a half is like? It was when we were shooting Shuttlepod One, and you were so proud of this episode, and we barely saw you at set after the pilot was set. But you were marching Sir Patrick around the set of Shuttlepod One. He was next door doing Nemesis. And you were so chuffed about this two-hander you'd written with Brannon. And it was then that you took me aside and said, I don't know if you know, but I remembered you from that Voyager episode audition. As I remember ringing my manager going, we're doing Star Trek next week, for sure. And then never heard from you. And he said, yeah, I had your photograph on my desk for a year. And I was like, you did?
We had created this character of Malcolm, and it was like when you came in, I saw Malcolm Reed, and so I said to Junie, let's hold him off.
What was the role you read for?
Well, I wish I think it was some sort of nomadic prince of some star galaxy nomadic tribe or something like that. But I remember nailing
Voyager?
it. Yeah. And it was probably in the last season, I would imagine, or the beginning of the last season or end of the penultimate. I remember, and it was when the days when you go in the room and there were like 7 of you, and you either stood up and did it, and I nailed it. And I remember ringing. It was back in the days when the first Nextel phones were, flicking up my phone and ringing JP, my manager, going, "Yep, we're doing Star Trek next week," and then never heard from you again.
I was sure that I had told Junie to tell you we've got something else.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you know what casting's like. They're like, yeah, well, we'll believe that when we see it, and
Well,
Hollywood's a rough town.
Took me 6 tries.
Yes, it did.
6 tries of what?
To get the gig.
I auditioned 6 times for Enterprise.
Yeah, it was down to you and another actor. Who was the actor?
Well, I think it was somebody that either Paramount or UPN had on one of those hold contracts.
Right. Yes,
they were
it
trying
was.
To
it was. He had,
install them.
He had black hair. I don't remember the actor, but he was somebody they had already had a relationship with.
Right.
But we wanted you.
Yeah, we did want you.
So let's get to Shuttlepod One a bit. So this was meant to be a money saver. Am I correct in saying that? I mean, this was
not really.
Not especially.
Clip shows and simple shows historically were always there for budgetary reasons, but I don't think we did this for budgetary reasons.
This was season 1, episode.
It was 16. Yeah,
episode 16. We were not at a.
But you hadn't spent all the money.
We weren't in a money, and we did 26 episodes. We weren't in a. We were looking to deliver an amazing first season of the show, so we weren't looking to pinch pennies at that point.
Okay.
However,
right.
it certainly didn't hurt. But I will say, as far as a show with a more narrow scope, there were a lot of things done we didn't normally do that cost money. For instance, making the stage cold enough to see your
6
breath.
industrial coolers.
With 6 industrial coolers. If you're trying to save money, you're not doing that.
You're not doing
Right.
that. That was the first time I ever saw Jerry Fleck, God bless his soul, and all the other crew members in long pants.
Yeah, Jerry Fleck was our first AD, and he wore shorts to work every day.
Every day, didn't matter whether it was cold, rain, or shine.
I think
mean,
Billy though stayed in shorts. He was just not going to.
Billy Pease, no,
Yeah,
he
Billy
was.
Pete's I think he stayed in shorts.
Today the visual effects are so good that they can make
I know.
the
That,
steam come out of
honestly,
your
half
mouth.
our show, the money went on CGI, didn't it?
Did it help you as actors to have it be cold?
Yeah.
It did. The only thing that was difficult was that, and as an exacting director as he is, David Livingston, we'd get through 2 or 3 lines of something and he'd yell, "Cut, we can't see any breath." And it was hard to get sort of momentum going sometimes, but ultimately we did, because I think it was a bit of a giving up on the idea that we were going to really, really be able to see our breath consistently.
Well,
We saw it enough. I mean, I watched the show last night, and you know, when you see it, it works. When we're cold, it looks bloody cold.
Right, and this I watched it too, and you do see the.
You sure do. Yeah, you really do.
A couple
And,
of main spots where you see it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, you know, as actors, we were drinking hot tea between each take. We were peeing every 20 minutes. And as kind of, and some as a 2-hand play really, and we'd get into a really meaty scene, and literally 20 seconds in, they go, "Cut, can't see the breath." Now, as difficult as that was, I found the duress of it and that angst actually lent itself to the playing of the parts in the scenario that we were in. I found it it was taxing, but in a good way.
And it was so bizarre to come out of that freezing soundstage to go out
Into the bright
90
sunshine.
degrees
Into Southern California.
You're
Yes.
like,
No
what is
kid-
happening to me?
Yeah.
You'd feel your body start that sort of weird, it's not really painful, but as your body
Yes,
warms up.
up.
I stopped going outside because I didn't want to warm up. I'd settled my body temperature to the point where going outside was almost painful.
This was a high concept episode in our mind. You know, the concept of 2 characters who believe their mothership's been destroyed and are trying to keep themselves from being destroyed, and how it would bring out the essence of both characters, which thematically was really nihilism versus optimism.
Right.
You know, and was what we were going after, and it wasn't to save money. It was.
Oh, good. It's good to hear, because I've always thought it was lightning in a bottle by mistake.
We liked. I mean, forgive me if I'm talking too much, Rick, but we loved your characters, and we wanted to see you.
And there was a sense of camaraderie between these 2 characters.
Yeah.
I remember the same thing existed on Deep Space Nine with Colm Meaney and Siddig.
All right.
And there was something about the camaraderie between you 2 guys. But at the same time, the characters would react to this dire circumstance
In utterly different
in a totally different way.
Yeah.
One very nihilistically, as you say, and the other one very pragmatic.
Treacly.
As the plot continued, it was great. It was great having Malcolm writing farewell letters.
Yes. I mean, it's sort of out of character, really, that he would even know all these women.
Not only that, but actually sleep with one of Trip's
Yeah,
loves.
the love of his life, Ruby.
It's,
I'm not sure. I mean, could you get away with? I mean, is it? I mean, slightly sexist stuff. I mean, but did you think of it in any?
sexist. I didn't. How's it
No, well, I
sexist?
don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Remembering
Men do talk like this.
Remembering the loves of your life
Right,
as
yeah.
you're
Is
as you're perishing.
No,
I don't
perhaps
think
I
they're
mean,
sexist
yeah.
at all. I think it's human. You know, we're not thinking about the world at large. We're thinking about what that character would think and
Yeah.
do in that circumstance.
But then when you start talking about T'Pol's bum,
Yeah.
that's something you would not have done
Had I not been
had
drunk.
you not, or no, had you not been drunk and had you not felt you were in the last 24 hours of your life.
No, I agree. We were talking about this earlier this morning about whether we were too drunk. Because I remember fighting David Livingston. He wanted to tame down the drunkenness, and I was like, you know what? We're in space, and we've just drunk the best part of a litre of whiskey with no food. We're trashed.
We wanted to take this moment to shout out a good friend of the Decon Chamber.
Yes, our Patreon executive producer, Mr. Chris Garris.
Woo!
He also hosts The Transporter Room, a new Star Trek interview series.
It's a space for deep dives, behind-the-scenes stories, and conversations with Trek veterans such as ourselves.
Oh, speak for yourself.
Well,
I'm a veteran.
You are.
So, do yourself a favour and beam over to The Transporter Room on YouTube.
And don't forget to check out our awesome merch, because who doesn't want to rep their favorite podcast in style, baby?
I think the scene, what I loved about watching it last night was the meat and measure of the whole episode. It's got a great tempo.
It does, and it holds up. I think it holds up beautifully.
It does.
It really does.
I also think that I don't recall there being much, if any, rewriting of it, because we'd been given the script like 2 weeks.
It was a
beforehand,
rarity, wasn't it?
And we got to rehearse it a lot. So we came in, with all of our, our guns loaded.
We were off.
Well, that's the good thing with writing a script with Rick is that you're not getting Rick notes.
Right.
They're coming out of the page.
They've happened.
The notes, the notes have happened. I think the greatest culmination of all these story points is the fact that at the end, both of these characters are willing to sacrifice their lives for the other one.
Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful...
It turns out into a love story in a way.
It does.
Right.
And it's been told many times, people being marooned.
Right.
But this was something that Brandon and I thought with you two guys would be unique. And the story had never been told in a shuttle pod before.
Yeah. Not a lot of space.
No, we banged our heads so bad on those metal rafters endlessly.
Well, that was part of the point of the whole design of the show was, if you look at Archer's ready room, the low beams that he had to duck under. We wanted it to have a little bit of a... We toured a nuclear submarine.
You did, didn't you?
Right.
With
Herman.
With Herman Zimmerman, the production designer, to try to get us just a sense of how things might be a little more
I could not believe how confined those submarines were.
You think it's more claustrophobic than you think it is.
Right.
Right.
I actually I don't know if I ever told you I took a Xanax before we got him, because I was poised for a panic attack.
Claustrophobic, yeah, do you?
But like I remember the captains. We figured, well, at least the captain's going to have a nice.
No.
And we went to the captain's quarters, and it was like 8 feet by 8 feet.
Wow.
And with a bed and a tiny desk, metal desk and a bed, and then he had like a little ready room outside, which was even smaller than that, with a laptop computer.
Yeah, it was really something. So bumping your head, that was kind of to some degree intentional.
It was intentional, right?
I did not know that scientifically you can use mashed potatoes to dam a micro-singularity. Did you guys ever have to talk to like Andre and go like, is that even possible? Is that a thing?
Well, we had consultants, and
They said that mashed potatoes would do fine.
I mean,
from the cafeteria.
We were thinking about au gratin potatoes, but they said mash would work.
Yeah.
That was, I remember shooting that bit. That bit with the flinging. It was one of the toughest parts to do. Was to the dance of getting the mashed potato, meat potato. What is it? What do you call
Meatloaf.
it? Meatloaf. Thank you. Pushed over to him was one of the toughest shots we did. To have it slide over exactly the right spot. And David Livingston, as you know, was just an absolute maniac for shots like that.
But in watching the show, which I just did, I was really impressed with David's work.
Great work.
Definitely.
Yeah, we couldn't have been luckier to have him actually be the guy to.
David
to
was
shoot this.
without question, one of our best directors.
Yeah.
I mean, along with David Carson and Rick Colby.
Right.
But David was always one of my favorites.
Great
just in terms of his inventiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he would drive people a little crazy.
Yeah.
Interrupting a take because something isn't right technically is probably not great.
He was exacting.
Yeah, but he was really imaginative.
He
Yeah.
was.
And to shoot an episode with two guys in a really, I mean, that is a tight space by any standard.
Yeah.
And giving it pace and having it not be boring.
Yes.
Dynamic.
And he still gave it depth. I mean, I was really surprised by the fact that when he's at one end of the shuttle pod and I'm at the helm end, there was depth there. It was almost a sort of Hitchcockian in those shots. And there was separation between us, which at times...
Lifeboat.
Yeah.
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 How
Indeed.
do you how many episodes do you have, say, at the beginning of a year in the writer's room? At least an idea or an outline for.
That was always the issue was always time. You know, when you're doing 26 episodes a season, you get 2 weeks. You really get 2 weeks off. 2 weeks. You get your vacation, and you come back and you write as many as you can. How many did we have at the beginning? Not a lot.
No, certainly not a lot.
And you didn't have a lot of...
maybe three.
You didn't have a lot of writers
Really?
from the old shows involved in that first season either, did they? They since sort of gone on to other things. Am I right in saying
Well,
that?
we had some Voyager holdovers, Mike Sussman, for instance.
Right.
Right.
But we had
Manny wasn't with us yet.
Manny
Not
had not
yet,
joined. Chris Black was there.
Sadly, Manny was not with us. Kidding.
No, well, rest in peace.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean,
but-
he was when Manny came on. I mean, talk about the Manny effect when he came on in season 4. Were you relieved that that the pressure was off you now, and that
Well, he came in season
3? I remember the episode he wrote,
He came in season 3.
and I remember thinking, "This is bloody good." I ran the writers' room.
When you're always, back to your initial question, we started with a writing staff of 10 writers, which is a very large writing staff for us, because we wanted to try out new voices. So we had, for instance, David Goodman, who was coming off of Family Guy.
Right.
And he was a comedy writer.
Right, but a terrific writer.
Terrific writer. And he was with us for a while. We would not have met Seth MacFarlane without David Goodman being on. Because Seth was a huge fan.
Right.
Ensign Rivers, I think he ended up.
Can a writer like that just turn their hand to something as unique as Star Trek and science fiction? And because it is a particular voice, Star Trek.
Well, in Seth's case, he's one of the best Star Trek writers I've ever worked with. I mean, that's what...
I mean, he has a passion for it, doesn't
Because
he?
he has a passion for it. But writing Star Trek, and Rick, you can probably attest to this more than anybody, it's just a particular thing. The tone is kind of a timeless one. It's a bit more formal, but at the same time, you don't want it to be too stiff. It can't. You want it to not be kind of tainted by contemporary idioms, but at the same time, it can't be free of them. And that's, by the way, one of the reasons we wanted to do Enterprise was to loosen that up a little bit,
Right.
and have characters that talked a little more like you and me. But Star Trek's just it's not an easy show to get everything right.
No,
it
I
lives
think
in an elevation. There's a certain line for where the kind of dialogue and the writing occurs in Star Trek in general that I really appreciate. It's you make a connection with it in a personal level, but you're also watching. This is a theatrical event. We're not trying to make this. This isn't a detective show. No. This is new things all the time, every week, and the characters have to be able to find the size of that, or just the level to find a consistency in what that.
It's a show about ideas, and the alchemy is hopefully you have a big concept that brings out some character arc, and maybe if you're lucky, there's some thematic component to it as well. And you don't always hit all three.
Right.
In the case of Shuttlepod One, we did. You know, it was a great character piece. It was a high concept, and it was really about something.
Yeah.
You know, and as writers on Star Trek, we're always looking for something that's going to be fun to write.
But unique. I mean, I know I watched an episode of one of the newer Star Treks where people are saying things like, "Gimme 5."
Right.
And it just doesn't sit right to me.
Right.
Right.
There's a certain classical element
Right.
to Star Trek.
Yeah, they've
with the way-
definitely-
That's a
Um,
good word for it, classical.
Yeah, they've certainly modernized it in inverted commas.
Right,
I
and
mean, not
Patrick-
to say that Strange New Worlds is not a great looking show. I mean, God, if we had
God,
that
if we had had that money.
if we'd had that money and technology and only had
Yeah,
to do
we could
10
have done
episodes.
puppets too.
None of us could sing, darling. Apart from Scott.
Did Junie have a note from you all ever that was like, we need people who have, theater training or a theater background, or did any of that matter?
I don't remember having that.
Do you
There's
recognize
no question that people with classic, more good training and diction were welcome. You know, and certainly I always marveled at the people who had to be under heavy makeup.
Right. Yeah.
Had to be really good actors because
To serve the makeup.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And to get the words out without, garbling them through the teeth.
Right. And Michael Dorn, Armin Shimmerman,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
a lot
You're kidding.
a lot of work.
And not do too much because the makeup's doing a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, it's mask work, really, isn't it? Yeah, and I mean you must recognise that when they come in, because back in the day when we would all go into audition live, you could tell straight away whether someone was,
Rick, you did a
had the
lot of
chops.
casting on the show.
Yeah, I did casting for virtually
Every episode.
of all 4 series.
How
Same
hard was
thing.
it to find Jolene? That was
I think the time, the day she walked in,
literally, yeah.
yeah, she nailed it.
I think I've heard her say or read somewhere that she initially turned you down and wasn't interested. Is that something you can attest
I don't
to?
remember, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
But most of the casting then was all done live. We had the only time we ever would look at tape on people would be when we were casting the original core characters, and for the leads like Avery Brooks.
Right.
The casting for Captain Janeway on Voyager, we looked at tape on a lot of people.
After Miss Bujold was not up for the hall. Is that when you? Yeah.
She was not up for
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
But no, even before Geneviève became the choice, we looked at tape on a lot of people.
Was Miss Mulgrew one of the tapes
Yeah.
that you looked at? Yeah. So
And she was one of the top runners.
right. But then you've got Miss Geneviève Bujold. I mean, it's hard to turn that down if she's
Rick was
saying yes.
Rick was the one person saying, "I don't think this is a good idea."
Were you?
Because
I think you-
the
when we
rest of
met
us were
last, you said
starstruck.
that.
But Rick's caution was she's never done television. It's a
Right.
different animal than making films.
Yeah.
Right.
Very different.
She's going to be in virtually every scene.
Yeah.
And he ended up being right. Am I correct in?
Yeah, I mean, she was. I explained to her that we did 7 pages a day, and she's used to doing 1 page a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No kidding.
And I remember her saying to me, "I like to get to know my director before I work with him. I like to have dinner and spend a little time talking." I said, "You're going to have a different director every week."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna
You're going to
know
get
most
fat
of
having
them.
all these dinners, love.
Right. Right.
And she said, "I don't feel comfortable having somebody touching my hair or makeup unless I know them and have discussed it and stuff."
It's not
So
your-
I knew that it was not going to work.
Not your beat.
But everybody else was thinking, "My God, we've got an Academy Award actress here wanting to play the role."
Right.
Who? I mean, so how did she come to you? Was that network bringing her to you, or how did that?
a lot of major actresses. I remember Isabella Rossellini came in and
Was she for
Talked
the Borg
about it.
Queen?
you're right. She was for the Borg Queen for First Contact.
Right.
and the casting department always managed to find interesting people. And in the case of Voyager, we read a lot of women.
Right.
And Jerry Taylor was in the mix at that time in the selection of characters. The same thing happened when the character of Seven of Nine came up, and we had to cast that. There were a lot of people in the running.
God bless.
How did
Manny.
you determine the Xindi arc? How much time did you put into thought into that before you began? I mean, it's 9/11 today. Not to put any political bent on this, but the arc itself, to my mind, is our reaction to what that was and what followed. And
we put a lot of thought into it. I mean, do you remember the Jonathan Dolgen meeting?
Remind me.
So Jonathan Dolgen was the chairman
Of all Paramount.
of all
Pictures.
Paramount,
Right.
the boss of everyone. And was a
TV, film, the whole nine yards.
He ran
everything.
the studio.
He ran the studio with Sherry Lansing, and
Jerry Lansing worked for him.
right, she was movies. He called us into his office. He was a huge Star Trek fan. He would sometimes comment on an episode and say, "Do more like that." But that was back in Voyager. But Enterprise, between seasons 2 and 3, he kind of encouraged us to shake things up a little bit, essentially. And we were interested in doing a seasonal arc, a more serialized season.
24 had been so successful with that, hadn't it? Right at that time.
24 was
Yeah.
a real breakthrough. And and I think, maybe Rick, you can remember, we were already thinking about doing, for really the first time on the TV show that I can recall, a story that was going to put Earth in peril as a cliffhanger for season 2. We were already thinking about this whole Xindi thing, and so we kind of had an idea.
The whole concept of a continuing storyline did not exist for us because when Next Generation was on the air, it was syndicated. And the studio would basically say to us, tough shit, you can't do this. You've got
practically impossible.
the stations can air these things in any order they want.
Yeah,
Right.
So
And so they said no continuing episodes, and we had to fight for them. And occasionally we would have a cliffhanger or a two-parter, cliffhangers to end a season.
And by the way, they were so rare that
Right.
they had to say, to
be
be continued, because the audience might be confused. The episode just
absolutely.
ended. It's what the hell?
Right.
They were very rare. I'm sorry.
But then when we got to UPN, the feeling was, we're on a network now, and we can do more continual storylines. And I know Ira Bear was obsessed with this for Deep Space Nine, and the studio kept saying no, and it was always perceived that I was the person saying no, but I was just telling them no from the studio.
Right.
right. The relationship between you and the network. I mean, by the time we came along, it was it in good shape initially, and then new people came in and.
I'm trying to think what network we were dealing with at that point.
Well, we were dealing with Dean Valentine initially with Voyager, it was Carrie and Gary Hart.
Kerry
McCluggage and
McCluggage loved Star Trek, didn't he?
Loved it.
He
Loved
did.
it. Loved it.
Like we were dealing with people we'd been working with for many, many years.
Right.
And then what season was it that CBS bought?
Yeah, season 2, I think.
Was it 2?
I think so.
Was that when your man Les Mumbus had become the golden boy at Viacom, and I mean I think I'm right in
That's
saying
when it was.
he put his lady in at UPN, didn't he? And a younger crowd started running that network, and they tried to appeal to a younger audience.
And they
didn't
knew nothing about Star Trek. There was one woman there who was, I forget exactly what her position was. She was one of the higher ranking people. Was it?
I think she was.
Was it UPN at that point, or was it?
Yeah.
It was UPN, but it would become CW.
Well,
that's what happened.
Did you know that was going on behind the scenes? That they were ultimately.
We knew maybe a couple of days before the public, but not a lot. But I remember once I was asked I got a call from this woman. I don't remember her name.
I remember her name.
And she said to me, "I've got a great idea that's going to help the ratings." And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Let's get a boy band."
Yeah.
I thought that was literally the phrase she used, a boy band, to play in
the cafeteria,
In the
I think is what I
cafeteria.
heard. Yeah.
and then we can market it.
They wanted a different boy band each week, didn't they? I mean, an actual real
Well, they
boy
had
band.
some kind of music.
Oh yeah, no, they wanted a boy
Yeah.
band that they would be able to
Yeah.
they'd be able to promote.
It'd be
and
K-pop
make
today.
money.
Yeah. No kidding.
Do you have any regrets about being involved in a network, having had the other shows be syndicated?
A little bit, I think. When we were very spoiled. I mean, when we were doing The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, we had basically total freedom. All they cared about was if we were on time and if we weren't over budget.
Right.
And they basically left it to us.
Well, the minute you get executives at a network and they think that you've got carte blanche to do whatever you want, they're always going to fight back, push back against that.
Well, the
aren't
show
they?
was successful. I mean, successful shows typically will be given a little more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But from my perspective, any studio involvement that was happening, Rick was dealing with. So I really had no idea what was, so it was.
There were times where Kerry would come into my office and he and Brannon and I would order lunch and he would talk story with us.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. He came to your
the
office.
chairman. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Shuttlepod One. I mean, how easy did that come? I've heard you say it just came out of you.
You said that to me on set very first
Yeah.
day.
Really?
The
Yep.
writing of
You
it.
said this just
Well,
Page after
that's
page
thanks
after
to
page.
this guy, I think, a lot. But we had a lot of fun with this. I started writing more and getting involved with working with Brandon on the show, which was a delight for me. And this week, I don't remember how we came up with the idea for the episode, but once we did it, it was.
I remember writing the episode with Rick more than I do the actual episode.
Would you sit in the same room together doing it, or
Yeah.
would you? Yeah, you would.
Oh, yeah.
You just sit there with your laptops.
With a laptop up that was going up onto a television
No kidding.
set.
How great.
Yeah, we were.
Those are exciting times, aren't they? When you and you see it there and you go,
Well,
wow, that's.
It was. I always say fun to write, fun to watch. We had a lot of fun, probably more fun writing that one than any of them that we did together.
Yeah.
And but you have to keep in mind though, we also had tons of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
And during our days, Rick was cutting episodes
Right.
and we had other episodes being written and what's the next story going to be? Because
Right.
we were on a 7-8 day shooting schedule, so you had to have an episode every 10 days.
Right. When you're writing episode 16 in this case, you're shooting episode 14.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
polishing episode 15.
Right.
You're cutting episode 13. It's
And you're trying to figure out what's episode 17 and 18. So it was great because when we would set aside that 3 or 4 hours of writing each day, that was just total decompression and not having to, hopefully not Rick's phone ringing every 10 minutes and interrupting.
Wow.
It was really it was a joyful
it
experience.
was almost part of work that wasn't work.
yeah.
I really admire. I mean, because the idea of sitting down in front of a blank screen for me and thinking who says what first, it's just it takes my breath away. That
Well, it's the same. Acting is a mystery.
Yeah, the ability to do what you do is
Right.
is
yeah, there we
equally
go.
impressive to us.
And for us, I mean, when I read something, I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah, the bone's there, isn't it? It's a strange the different skill sets that we all have. And
yet they're probably more similar than you think in that when you're writing characters, it's just about writing from the inside out versus outside in. In other words, really, what would that character say now and do? And being truthful about that.
Right. The crafting of that.
And if you know the character and you're being honest about what you're doing. You're not trying to force something to happen. It will reveal itself, and I think acting might be similar. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the luxury of, I mean, Gary Oldman always said it starts on the bed.
And that's true.
With the script. And that's where I tend to, dream up my role, my performance is lying on the bed, reading the script, and reading the script again, and reading the script again, and trying it out loud in the bedroom, and seeing what
opens up.
Seeing what works. And it literally opens up. And if it's well written, Lord, it's a joy, and it's easy.
But when we're writing it, it's not just the two characters that we're writing for. It's for Dominic and Connor we're writing for as well, because you guys bring something to these characters that we get to know, and once we get to know it, in a sense, we're writing for both the character and for the actor who's playing.
Do you think
that
we
character.
surprised you in our performance of Shuttlepod One from what you'd written on the page? Were there moments you were like, "Oh, I didn't see that," but
No.
not.
I think you guys. We're always surprised. I mean, you guys are always giving something. You're not reciting lines. You're that's why you were cast.
Right.
The moments toward the end that are very moving.
There are. I actually.
So that's what. Watching it and being moved by it, even though you're kind of divorced from the writing. You kind of forget that you've written those lines. That's a testament.
I
to your
found it
performance.
unsettling. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and watching it last night was as much a joy to see it again and be proud of what we did. But I found it actually emotionally quite unsettling. It was sad. There's a lot of sadness.
Well,
in it.
well now you are Malcolm right now, because I see it as very uplifting,
You do,
as life affirming. But it's totally life affirming.
As do I. It's a story of camaraderie.
Yeah.
And it's a story of two guys who are willing to sacrifice their lives for each other.
And it has a happy ending, Dominic.
Yes, it does. I mean, look, there are some beautiful moments. The lighting of the candle and the blowing out of the candle is just it's divine. All of a sudden, 5 or 6 minutes seems like a nice idea now.
When we were writing these characters before they were cast, because you're writing a pilot and you start writing episodes before we get as you're being cast, and it's really not until we see what you're doing with the characters, as Rick was saying, that the voices, we know what voice we're writing to.
Yes.
So it is a symbiotic relationship.
The opening up portion that happens.
Absolutely. And though it's not like Rick and I were directing. We rarely went to the set.
No, you didn't. After the pilot was set,
because we just didn't have time. But there was this relationship always in play, between us, in terms of what was on the page.
Right.
The speaking of what's on the page, I've spoken with many actors about at least the experience that we had on Enterprise, where the idea that you need to be word perfect, or 99% word perfect, their jaws would drop and they'd be like, "What?" Like, yeah, we had to get it all right. Which
DLP,
again,
baby.
Talking about the craft, it's a muscle. You know that's the deal. You get better at it, and but that sort of like freewheeling, I think it goes back to sort of like the kind of language and the way in which it was used and spoken. That there couldn't be the colloquialisms that, the high fives and that kind of stuff.
And on television, it's not like there's a lot of time for improvisation, but really, this might sound pretentious, but a lot of meticulous work went into the writing of the scripts. Rick was especially talented at manicuring every line of dialogue, and there was no fluff.
There was nitpicking.
Right.
Well, no, but that's I think what I learned more than anything from you is the
economy,
the refinement of. So it's like down to every adverb. I mean, So what was on the page was very carefully written. It wasn't just dashed off, and so we expected you to do the dialogue. If there was an issue, obviously you could call Rick or me, and
I learned a lot of that from working with Patrick Stewart. When we started, Most of these scripts had been written by Gene, or Gene certainly had his hand in them in the beginning. But I was the one who would get a call every night from Patrick. I remember my kids would say, my son Tommy would come to me, and we'd be having dinner, and the phone would ring, and he'd answer, and he'd come back, and with a sad look on his face, he'd say, "Dad, it's the captain." And he knew that what that meant was I'd be on the phone for 45 minutes.
Right.
And but with Patrick, you discussed every line, and he had things that he wanted to change, and sometimes it was an adverb.
Right.
And maybe that's what got it ingrained in me.
Yeah, I love that about that an actor takes such interest and acuity to what he's going to say, and no one knows their character better than the actor playing them. And
Said the actor.
Said the actor. English guy would say that. What would he say? I'll get back to you.
Our choice of an English guy to play Picard was, I think, in a sense, was responsible for a great deal of everything that followed.
All right. And such a trained actor too. I mean,
Patrick and Gene absolutely wouldn't have it. He had no interest in having a bald Englishman playing.
No, he didn't, did he? He had no
James
interest.
Kirk.
He was completely against it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I was one of the two people who just.
Did he come
worked on
around
him.
in
Yeah,
the end? He did.
finally came
when
around.
you see how can
Well,
you?
the great tale that I tell is that we brought Patrick in to Paramount with another actor to the studio, and Gene insisted that Patrick wear a wig. And he flew the wig in from London.
He had one, didn't he?
He had one in London.
Yeah.
And he flew it in, and in my office, we were in a trailer at that point, and he
Did the wig get first class?
the wig came over Federal Express, and he put the wig on, and we went in, and he read, and after he left the room, John Pike, who was the president of Paramount Television at the time, said, "Go with the English guy, but lose the wig."
Thank God.
About that. Yeah.
And
The rest is history.
That was probably the single best bit of casting that we did, because it gave a certain nobility to the show.
Gravitas.
Okay. Yeah.
Gravitas.
Yeah. We only did 4 years. What did we say about that? I mean, was it just we'd been to the well too many times?
Okay, here's what I would say to that. We did 99 episodes. That's
98. To be
98.
precise,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
Just to correct.
98 episodes.
Yeah.
By
It's a hit show.
By any standard,
Yeah.
I think it was the changing of the guard that was largely responsible for the show not
At
running
UPN,
long. I think so.
and TV was the landscape
I know.
was
I
changing.
Think, I just don't think. Rick mentioned earlier. I think that there were the new people in charge didn't really understand Star Trek, and they didn't have an interest.
And the
No, they
network
didn't.
was turning more toward like teenager, young women type of shows.
They
And
created
were-
the CW. I mean, so
and
there you go.
right, and this was a group that wanted boy bands.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other stories I know I've heard is you having a discussion about doing an episode with a fire on the hull of the ship. And
Yes.
Do you want to tell that
There was
story?
going to be a fire on the hull, and I described the whole sequence to one of these people at CBS. And after I got done with the whole mapping out of what was going on, she looked at me and she said, "Well, that's great. What a wonderful idea. Just tell me one thing. What's a hull?"
Oh, Jesus.
I think that it's not like you can even really blame anybody. It was just if you don't, you have to have Carrie McCluggage, the person who was left the studio, loved Star Trek and wanted more Star Trek. I suspect if I could change the timeline and that had that changing of the guard not happened, I suspect Enterprise would have run it 7 years, and there might have even been more Star Trek. Who knows?
Right.
But it probably did need a break anyway.
Do you think? I mean, would you happily have gone on and done another Star Trek show? Do you think, in hindsight,
No.
or
Probably not.
I mean, you would
collectively you've done 25
You would have
years.
wanted, in an ideal world, though you didn't flinch about creating Enterprise, do you think it would have been good if after Voyager there'd been a year or two?
I fought for Deep Space Nine. Brandon Tartikoff, who was running the studio at that point, came to me and said, we want to do another Star Trek show. And I said, we got this one on the air.
Yeah, really.
And I said, and then when years later, when Next Generation was coming to an end, they came and said, let's do something else. What turned out to be Voyager, and that was going to air simultaneously with the last 3 seasons of Deep Space Nine. And I kept saying, let's give it some air. Let's wait. And they went, no, we've got a time slot, and the time slot's sitting there. We've got all these stations that we're selling the show to, and they were making a lot of money from it.
Striking while the iron's hot.
Right.
Yeah.
But I always believed in breathing room. But look what it is today.
I
They've
tell you,
got
I was
14
listening.
shows on the air.
It's the 60th anniversary next year. It's the 25th for us. Of course, we're going to get overshadowed yet again. And I was listening to KCRW just the other day, and they were talking about the 60th anniversary. And then they just said something after that, a TV phenomenon that will never be rivaled. And I honestly, it made me so proud that I'm part of that, legacy.
And you're part of the legacy that unfairly got chopped too early.
Yes.
And from a lot of the people I know who are peripheral fans of the series, people talk more and more about Enterprise.
Oh, we get it when we go
do.
to conventions. We honestly, it's happened.
It
I mean,
really helped that it went to Netflix for a hot minute, and then Paramount Plus came about because, to be honest, we would hear that, say in St. Louis, we were preempted on a day that we were meant to be because the Cardinals were playing and they were shown on that channel, and so you'd have to bounce back and forth to find the show, and to be able to watch it chronologically was almost a near impossibility.
I mean, you mentioned that we were on the network for the first time, but the network that we were on, which was a new network, didn't have 100% coverage. Around the country, and where it did air, sometimes you needed your tinfoil and rabbit ears to get a clear signal. It was so. I was
in Texas for
and I was
Friday
reading
Night
about
Football.
Shuttlepod this morning. I was just looking at some statistics, and when it first aired, it got 5.3 million viewers, which by today's standards, of course, is
a hit, a
a
monster hit.
smash hit. And this was with, I don't know what 85% coverage of the country. I mean, I don't know what UPN had.
I think it was less than 80.
So the show was, by today's standards,
It's a big hit.
was doing very well. And I forgot it had gone to Netflix. I forgot about that. It's kind of a...
Yeah, but the accessibility, I think, is the important part for an audience, to gain an audience and to get a larger audience.
You have to know it exists.
Yeah, you have to know it exists, and you have to give it some time and watch the arc of the narrative continue on. And if you can't find the damn thing, we are lazy people. We're not going to really search that hard to go find something, or a lot of people aren't going to do that, and that definitely happened. But I do think that the Paramount Plus situation has been very, very good for our show in particular.
No kidding. Yeah.
Our show also still looks amazing.
That's another thing that Rick and I were adamant about was although HD television, high-def television, was not accessible to most people when this show came out, we wanted post-production done in high-def. We wanted the show, it's kind of like shows shot in color when everyone still had black and white.
Right.
That we knew eventually everyone would have high-def,
Right.
and that our show would have a better chance of getting syndication if we were. So it's still it looks very good, and it was
looks
it was shot
fantastic.
16:9,
Yeah.
which not everyone had
Right.
at that time.
And compared to Next Generation or Deep Space Nine or Voyager, it's got a much more elegant look to it.
And it was a fine line to walk in so much that, we're a prequel, so the technology's got to be dated, but for a modern audience that's looking. I mean, I think I heard you say, Rick, the computer that Steve Jobs brought out looked funkier than the one that you were using on Next Generation. And how were you going to weigh that up? And I think Herman did a fantastic job of making this prequel look,
Thank God for Herman Zimmerman, our production designer,
Bit of a
because
genius.
that's one of the reasons that Herman and Rick and people like Bob Blackman, our costume designer, and all there was a consistency, a continuity between the shows, and that's why Enterprise feels right, because Herman had done all the other shows, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and Michael Westmore, and
Yes.
the
makeup.
fact that we were in business for 19 years, and the number of people who were there on year 19 who were there on year 1,
There were
it's incredible.
there
was
were at
a
least
family.
16 or 17 crew members that were. It was a well-oiled machine, and it was a joy to set foot on that set. And we were so lucky to have Scott as the number one at the top of the food chain.
There are episodes of Enterprise that, like Shuttlepod One, I was reading, according to The Guardian or some poll, that it's regarded as one of the top 100 episodes. It's considered one of the best Star Trek episodes, which
Yes.
I'd never read before. I don't know how true that is, but in retrospect, I mean, I think a lot of people are maybe just now discovering Enterprise, and I tell people
They
who
are.
are fans of Voyager or Deep Space Nine or TNG, you've got 98 episodes
Yeah.
of Star Trek that you haven't seen that were made by the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are episodes of Enterprise I think are classics, are really great Star
Oh,
Trek.
absolutely.
Great
Cogenitor, Similitude. I mean, there are some really fantastic Star Trek.
I thought Broken Bow was a great episode.
Right, our pilot is frankly the best Star Trek pilot I think I've ever. I mean, I've watched them all now.
It's a really good
It's a
pilot.
great pilot, and
And a lot of stuff that Manny brought to the show in the 4th year.
Yeah, no
was
kidding.
Just wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's to me one of the tragedies that it didn't go on was because Manny had some great
he would have
stuff
been
planned.
brilliant to
And the fact that the show was a precursor to the United Federation of Planets,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that was our ultimate goal of where we were going,
Yeah.
and that basically we were told that the show was done 2 episodes before the end, right?
Yeah, that was
It's,
been rough. I mean, there are a couple of things that we haven't talked about yet. Is the final episode and the theme song.
Look, the final episode is Rick and I. Here's the thing: it wasn't. I think the Enterprise fans would see it as a disappointing finale of Enterprise, but Rick and I, for right or wrong or otherwise, Rick had been with this franchise for 18 years,
Yeah.
and I'd been there for 15, and we wanted to send a Valentine to the franchise, and I still stand by the concept of the episode, which is it's actually an episode of Next Generation, where they're looking back at Enterprise on the holodeck,
Right.
which I think is a cool idea.
I agree. I mean, I think the idea of we can't get ourselves from the 97th episode to the 98th episode. Story-wise, there was no way we could.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what are you going to do?
So we would do the idea of doing a flashback from the future, looking back with the help of a holodeck to see what happened, what the culmination was with Jonathan Archer and the United Federation.
And what
of
impact
Planets.
Enterprise had on those characters.
And there was no way of doing that other than seeing it through as a flashback. And we had the ability of doing we had holodecks that could make realistic flashbacks, unlike other kinds of television series, and somebody had to be looking at it. So the fact that we picked Marina and Jonathan's characters from the next generation was just a convenience for us.
Right. Was there a second? Was there a plan B for our last episode that might not have been that? Or
No,
no,
absolutely not. No, that episode was written with precise intention. Whether or not you liked how it turned out, that's a different story. But
I didn't realize it ticked Scott off until we did that 10-year reunion at CBS, and he actually said it out loud. Do you remember?
he wasn't happy with it. I can understand why. I mean, by the way, I've never seen Scott angry ever. Like,
nor have I.
I don't even know him to have gotten upset about anything, but I think he was probably feeling protective about
his legacy,
his show, his crew.
Yeah,
you know, and
right. I
can understand that, but.
I mean, there was when I've watched it, there is some sort of when he's been stopped and started like a puppet on the hologram deck. There is a certain, I don't know, is it disrespectful or is it that he's, I don't know. I can understand why it would rough. You know,
well, we weren't certainly
sit roughly with him.
Our intentions were not to be in any way dismissive
or disrespectful.
We were quite the opposite.
And Lord knows, I mean, I have to say the scenes we shot with Jonathan Frakes on the galley were some of the best scenes, the funnest days we ever had.
The one thing that
he is such a fun guy to work with.
Why did we? This is the thing that I can't figure out. Trip is killed in the episode. To me, that's the thing.
That's right.
That's the thing that I.
He was.
I feel like that's the real problem. You know, one of the most beloved characters. Certainly, what were we thinking?
Yeah, why did we do that?
Why did we do that?
Because you could really, couldn't you?
No, it's not. No. We're not. To kill off a character is. Why did we do it? What happens in the episode?
he electrocutes himself.
Actually, it's not electrocution. I pull out one of these hoses because there's these diamond pirates.
He blows them
come
up.
in and I blow them up because I know that the captain has to get back to Earth, the Federation, for all this to occur. And it looks like we're gonna get killed. So I sacrifice myself.
He sacrifices himself.
Now I'll say this: I'm very satisfied with the final episode, and I'm really satisfied with the fact that Trip dies, because as an actor, I got to tell the entire arc of a story. You don't have to wonder about him. I don't have to wonder about him. I don't have to answer questions about him. What you saw was the totality of this person's career and life, and I get great satisfaction out of that. And I surprise people when I tell them that, and they never think of it that way. And I said, yeah, this is. Well, I did when we got the script for the final episode. There was a message from you, I think, to call you after I'd read it. And I read the episode, and I was like, okay. And I called you up, and I said, we are canceled, right? And you were like, yeah, we're done. And I was like, oh, well then, all right.
Kill me.
Great, kill me.
String me out.
We were to go, no doubt we were after what emotional impact it would have. And we felt that the flashback needed some power, some emotional potency, and but I can see why it might have been upsetting to people to find out indirectly that Trip died.
Right.
We still spoiler some people 25 years later.
Well, if you're just discovering the show, these people aren't real.
So the theme song. I mean, should we? I know maybe we don't want to end on this note, but note. Whose idea was it to take it away from an orchestral piece and find a song? And I love it. I mean, I got to say, I find the montage brilliant.
I think it was mine. Was it?
I think so.
I think it was mine.
All right.
I think we were trying to do something different and something new. I think the montage that they put together,
it's brilliant.
That Peter Lortzen, I know, was involved with.
Right.
It's just magnificent
I love it.
shots showing the whole history of avionics all the way to space.
Right.
And enterprises en general, you know, through
and I met
the sail ships. And
I met this woman, Diane Warren, who's a big
brilliant
songwriter.
And the voice, the English singer, I'm blanking on his name
Russell
now.
Watson.
Russell Watson. What a great voice. I mean, you know.
And the song, for me, fit the whole tenor of what the show
Absolutely.
was going to be about. And I think it was a gigantic mistake because people were so angered by it.
And you know what? Who cares? Honestly, by this time, people say, like, you know, oh, the theme song. I'm like, did you watch the show?
Yeah.
There's another 45 minutes that were really interesting if you didn't happen to like the theme song.
There was a lot going on that was different. The word Star Trek had been removed. It was a prequel.
Yes, right. Then Star Trek came back.
And it was just kind of I don't know. I mean, I've heard some people say that, hey, that's the song from a Robin Williams movie.
Yeah.
Like we did
Patch Adams.
Patch Adams, which was
God, how do I know that?
yeah, that's
Sometimes they just get.
that is a movie that was not apparently all that great, and maybe it was just too much for people. I think it's grown on people, you know. And I think Rick's right.
We host karaoke.
By the way, you remember what song we had in there as a temp song when we were developing the
this,
visuals?
yes.
Was U2 "Beautiful Day."
Yeah.
That was the. By the way, there was no reality where we were
Could
getting
we have
that.
afforded that?
Right.
But we needed something in there.
Mind you, I mean, when the new iPhone came out with a free U2 song on it, everyone went fucking bananas because they didn't want, you're putting U2 on my. I didn't want that. I mean, fans, you can be tricky.
Yeah.
And
But I think I have to believe that these days most people would either say they have a fondness for the song or just don't care.
it's sung every night.
exactly.
Every time we do karaoke at any convention, and we host the karaoke show, it's the last show we go out. Everyone comes up to sing that
And
song.
they all know the lyrics.
And they all know the lyrics.
Even
Yeah.
the long form version
Even the long
of the song,
form.
which is a lot longer.
It goes
than I
on a
thought it
long
was.
time, the
Yeah.
long form.
There's a lot of it.
a really long version.
Oh, it's American Pie.
But I mean, you guys, look, you're actors. You go to conventions and all this stuff. You must have a sense of Enterprise's popularity among
Absolutely.
the fans.
And
Two
the
things. There's one when people walk up and they say, and this really annoys me, as they go, I watched your show and I heard a lot about it, but it's really good. And I'm like, you heard all these naysayers talking about this and decided not to watch it for 20 years?
Yeah, I didn't watch it because I heard the theme song was
Yeah,
lousy.
exactly.
Yeah.
And otherwise, people, it's happening more and more and more as they're walking up and they're saying, I got to tell you, this is the best of them all.
Yeah, no, we hear that. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The really inspiring thing is when somebody walks up and says, I'm an engineer because of your character.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
That's-
And the
You know,
time
and
we
I'm
came
huge to
out, we get a lot of service people who were, literally, dodging IEDs all day, and the hour they would get off, they'd come home and our show would be televised, teleported to wherever they were in Iraq or wherever.
Well, it was heartbreaking.
And that really is humbling.
At the time it was out, I think it was the recipient of a lot of criticism, just of the what they would call these days as franchise fatigue,
Right.
and a very much a crossing of the arms. Okay, so prove why you should exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the show is it's a culmination of so many people's talents. The people behind the scenes,
Yeah.
people writing it, had been working on this show for a long time and had really refined their abilities, and it was really on full display. And I think some of the scripts that Rick and I wrote are good examples. Like, we'd figured it out. We knew how to write the show. We knew how to bring our very best to the table. And I think Enterprise, in some ways, is the best of the shows in that regard.
And it was the most fun to make because everything was shorthanded. Everybody knew. If you needed to talk to Bob Blackman about costume or Herman Zimmerman or Michael Westmore, everybody knew what everybody else did and how they did it and how they worked and how you would talk to people. And the camaraderie within
Yes.
of some of these people who had been with us for
That was palpable. on the
almost
set.
20 years.
Yep.
And this is
Yeah.
a place, Star Trek for us had become real. for 15 to 18 years, all of us had been living this every single day of our lives.
Right.
It become real, and now we were making this prequel, and we were the right people to do it because it was now in our DNA.
Right.
And I think it's one of the reasons that Star Trek feels real to a lot lot
Yeah, and look,
I
you set
agree
the
with you,
foundation
absolutely.
for, it's a forever thing now, I think, pretty much. And you guys set the foundation for that, along with Mr. Roddenberry, God bless him. But
I'll just say this: it was the honor of my career, my professional life, having worked with and for the two of you.
yeah, no kidding.
And I mean that. And I'll always feel that way.
Yeah.
I think the feeling is quite mutual.
Thank you.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, it's been lovely chatting to you guys. Really, it's
I hope
lovely
for coming.
seeing
It
you.
Well, by the way, have you done more episodes of this show than Enterprise did?
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're
Okay.
at 45.
Okay. All right. All right.
I think you'll find that 98 is a big number.
It's a tough one.
Well, we will do, because we're ostensibly moving into really reviewing our show now, and occasionally we'll come into the studio if and when we have the cash to do so.
Yeah,
So,
to be a
if
nice,
you want to get your checkbook out,
it'll be a nice companion piece, I think, for the show. Because I mean, that's our goal is to do all of our episodes and have them, for the world to see if they so desire.
Yeah, we're very we want to leave our own commentary on our show rather than have someone else do that, and
Because we'll kick their ass.
and then having chaps like you come in and join the party has been just fantastic.
Means a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Honestly,
Yeah,
you've
thanks.
changed our
Great seeing you
lives, guys,
Yeah,
and
it's great to see you.
I really can't thank you enough. Well, that didn't disappoint, did
No,
it?
not at all.
And how lovely to see them in the same room together, and to chew the fat about, frankly, 4 of the best years of my life.
Yeah, agreed.
And,
And also thinking about how, when I do think about the 4 years, I think of them very fondly, but, it's so much, I was reminded of so much in this chat that made me, again, so proud of being a part of all of this.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not just Enterprise, but a part of Star Trek. And
25 years ago, it was just another Star Trek show. And now it's the whole characterization has changed about the franchise and what it means in televisual history, and we're a part of something that's frankly phenomenal. And I mean, I pinch myself at that the thought of becoming an actor and actually getting onto a franchise that has become this just this monolith.
However, when we were done, we thought we killed it.
We did.
I mean, we did. We thought that we literally killed this thing.
Well, I thought you killed it.
Well, they killed me. Then,
I thought, yeah, do that.
so maybe that's.
But it's. I mean, I was listening to the radio, and I've said it a couple of times, and it's the 60th anniversary next year, and our 25th. And we're just part of something that's just huge.
Yeah,
and
I never knew it at the time.
Yeah, no,
didn't.
I had a sense that we were part of something, big, that certainly had notoriety, but nothing to the extent that it's become.
It had not yet got, and this is going to sound maybe controversial, it had not yet got the bona fides of being a Trekkie. Being a Trekkie still at that point
Yes.
in time wasn't cool.
No.
Now you see girls walking around in original series skirts on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I'm not sure what
Yeah.
they're doing there, but but it's
You mean
it's
Ruby?
Come out, it's come out of the closet in a way that I didn't feel at the time.
Yes.
We were part of a large cloistered group that doesn't
No.
exist anymore.
It's
worldwide, and universal, and
It is, and much loved, beloved.
yeah.
Please think about joining us on Patreon. We can always use the help.